Line is that person should then respond, with all due respect, we understand you had no malicious intent. We're just asking to diffuse this. Out of concern for your colleague, please stop talking about it. And they should just be respectful.
We have a few scenarios for you. The first one says, she only works part-time for us as an account payable clerk and has another job. I will just make her an independent contractor, a 1099. That way, we don't have to add her to our workers' comp policy. I believe we meet that criteria, right?
Wrong. You don't meet the criteria. So just because she's part-time and she has another job, there is a criteria which is very easy to access and pull up on the internet, which says what constitutes an independent contractor, and every single item on that list needs to be met. In this particular instance, I'll make it quick and clear, that direction will be coming from the employer. She'll be doing their work. It's not a scope of work that's outside of the normal process. It's their program, their plans, their accounting systems. So immediately she is in an employer-employee relationship, which is W-2, which is all of the things that are required, as our speaker said, W-4, I-9, all of that has to be in compliance. So it's important that you understand that you just cannot make up people's job titles and or distinguish them between a 1099 and W-2 unless you really know the laws of the land. And would you like to contribute to that?
No, you did it very well.
Hey! Now that's chemistry.
So now, how many of you guys have employees? Sharon?
Is it just Sharon?
Is it just Sharon?
But you will someday.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
So did you guys know that there's only 2% of women that have employees? 2% of women. That means all women. In the black community, it's only 1% of women that are black. So 1% of black women have employees. And it's actually even less than that. It's a point, like 8.7, but they round up in our favor.
Okay.
So that means that when you look around, most of them are solo entrepreneurs that are literally what? Carrying the weight of the world for their business on their back. They're solo entrepreneurs. So we have to remember that.
Yes.
And we're going to think about that, especially tomorrow when we talk to the men, is why is that the case?
That's
Okay?
a really good question.
So we can't afford to pay overtime, so we'll just make up an HR coordination role.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
you know, consider them like a salary employee. Does that count for me not having to pay overtime? So
You guys are laughing, but because I dealt with this on a regular, being in the business for so long, I promise you this is a normal scenario where someone just starts getting creative, and because you have a really good hourly employee who is willing to stay overtime, you take advantage of that situation. And then all of a sudden, you might go to a labor law event or go to something and you find out that you're doing it, you know, you're not paying overtime. And this person stays over every day. And you say, you know what? You say, you better go home. And they're like, no, I just want to finish my work. Don't worry about paying me. I just want to finish my work. And then the moment you go to term that employee because something goes wrong, all that time that she said, don't worry about it. And then someone gets in her ear and she goes to the labor board, you better worry about it.
Yes.
So keep them in the right category. Do not allow them to stay. Make them get up for lunches. Do not allow them to work at their desk or eat at their desk. We are in the most litigious state in the world. And so you really want to be careful of all the things that seem so simple at that time. Do not change job titles. Job titles have to be relevant. When you switch a job title to make it relevant midstream and something happens to the employee and they go to the labor board, they're going to look intrusively into what you did. So these are the things that we just want to drop nuggets today and say, don't go messing with stuff because...
So then, if I have to do all this and spend all this money for employees, what steps should I take to make sure that I'm not only getting the best qualified employee for my business, but also who is best suited for my business?
Glad you asked. Glad you asked. Well, first of all, since I know that the majority in here are solo entrepreneurs, which means you will not have employees, but possibly you're going to have interns, and possibly you're going to work your way up to actually have some employees. So, we've already talked about the difference between an independent contractor and what an employee is. So what you need to know, when you're looking for the best suited employee, let me see a show of hands if you think that the best qualified is the same thing as the best suited. Good. Oh, I saw a hand up over there. No, what you want to know is that the best suited, you want to make sure that the culture that you have for your organization and for your company, that employee knows, number one, your values. That's the most important thing. If you're going to hire someone that's best suited for your company, they need to know your values. They also need to know what is the office culture. Maybe some of you are in the sales and they need to know what the sales culture is for that particular company, because you could bring someone in that maybe over at XYZ, they knock the sales out of the ballpark, but they get over to you in your offices where you kind of lax, you kind of do what you want to do, but they're used to someone being very structured. So, I'm referring to a few of my little notes. Doesn't mean that I don't know it, okay? That's what I'm talking about. I just want to make sure that I don't leave anything unturned, so bear with me. But what I wanted to say to you is that you want to make sure in the interviewing process that you are asking questions that's really going to make you feel out and make sure this person is best suited. You know who's famous for asking some of the greatest questions in the world is Microsoft. They're legendary for asking questions to determine if the people are best suited to come to their company. For example, one of the questions that they ask is, how many golf balls can fit in a 747? Anybody want to take a guess? No.
6,540.
How much?
6,540.
Nice try.
Times two.
Times two. A 747 airplane.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of golf balls.
That's
Before I tell you the answer, I want to tell you why they asked that question. They want to know what your thought process is.
Yes.
They want to know if you can really engage in thinking of a problem through. They don't really care about what you answer. They just want to know, does this person really have a good thought process? So, I'll tell you the answer in a minute. Hold on. Okay, so you want to, first of all, make sure that the person knows what type of people they're working for. For instance, I work with the NFB as their consultant. And I know that Aaron likes people that really are into research. They get on the internet, they research where to find their clients, things of that nature. For Tanya, the CEO of the company, she likes people that are warm and fuzzy and positive and they are team players. So they have to work with both of those type of people. So you need to make sure that when you are interviewing someone that they can fit into that culture. You get me? You following me? They may come to be the administrative assistant. They may know exactly what to do, how to answer the phones, how to work on the computers. But if they don't work into the culture and the value and the principles that they have, they won't do well. Am I right, Denise?
Absolutely.
They won't do well. So that's what I mean by the
And
best
you won't
suited.
be happy if you join a company just for money.
Yeah.
You will never be happy if you don't match the culture. They can pay you $1 million and you will not want to get up every day if you don't match.
So I like to give them questions to use, not the Microsoft. That's kind of that questions have been overused. But here's a good question to really determine if someone has really good communication skills. For example, you can ask them, if you were shipwrecked on an island, you had all of your needs taken care of, your water, your food, all of that was taken care of, what 2 items would you want to have on the island? And they weren't going to pick you up for a while. What 2 items would you want to have on that island? So that's one of the ways you can get that thought process out, okay? So everybody kind of knows that that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the best suited. You're not looking for the most qualified. Did I answer that question well?
Yes, you did.
Can I get a clap? Okay, the answer to the question about the golf balls is 22,870,000.
It's a lot of
Golf balls are going to take the field of 747.
I mean, golf balls, you guys.
You
are
number
this big.
people, you would know how to do that, how to figure out the equation,
imagine
right?
it's
My number of people in the
747
room? Okay.
Okay, so steering off of that question for you, Denise. So, we got like this girl in our office is called Nosy Betty.
Nosy
I got to
Betty.
change the name because of my mom's name.
Everybody
Okay.
got a nosy Betty up in the office.
But She's always getting in everybody's business. She's involved in everything. She's just all over into other people's business at work. She has the nerve to complain that a couple of people that are dating at work and said they are doing too much PDA, public display of affection, in front of her and others. And as her coworker, I told her to mind her own business, as dating is not against the company policy. Was that the right thing to do?
Absolutely not. Public displays of affection can turn into a sexual harassment lawsuit.
Yes.
Because it may not offend the two that's having fun doing the PDA, but it affects the people watching. And if it offends me and it's too promiscuous, too provocative, or just makes me feel funny, it ain't good. So that can be a third-party sexual harassment claim. So you should never, even as a coworker, and if a company doesn't have a policy that's already doing sexual harassment training in the state of California, that concerns me even more. The sexual harassment is a law. You have to engage and train your employees in sexual harassment. It falls in the eye of the beholder. So if we see two people engaging in anything that makes us uncomfortable, we have a right to say that, and we should not be poo-pooed. We should make the behavior go away and be respectful within the workplace. So no, it is never acceptable to allow that type of fraternization to go on, and executive leadership should always be notified, and it should be diffused and put to rest immediately.
Absolutely.
Was that good enough?
That was good.
Lady D?
You got it, girl.
Clap, clap.
So Denise, but there was this other employee who I went to HR again.
I made up some good questions, y'all.
And like, see, I can see that her husband's been like whipping her behind. And so, she finally left him, and now she's staying with her mother, and she said that her husband is threatened to come to the job and blow her head off. And
It's real, y'all. It
I'm
happens.
kind of terrified. Is there something we can do, or what can we do here? I mean, I've been praying for her and her family, but what's going on? What should we do?
And so I see some people nodding their heads and say yes, but I think they do, you're absolutely right. But in a way, I wonder if you really know the new law. So basically, old law would say, okay, get yourself a restraining order on your own, and good luck to you, and do you have to come to work tomorrow? The new law says that you have a right to get a workplace restraining order. Now see, this is a newer thing, and it's important that you understand your rights, because too many people are dying due to domestic violence, and they're taking other people with them. So I would tell you that no one should ever tell you, if they bring something to you, take it seriously. If their life is being threatened and someone says they're going to blow your head off, and you don't know when or where they may enter the workplace, and as you can see by incidents like Las Vegas and other places all over this country, that we are not safe. People have the right to bear arms. And with that being said, anybody in HR and any employee or coworker, whatever you want to call yourself, needs to immediately take it serious. And if they're afraid to tell HR, offer to go for them, offer to go anonymously for them. It needs to be taken care of, because people lose their lives every day to workplace violence. We good? Yeah, we good.
So, does anybody have any of their own questions? We can do one final question. Anybody? Anybody have a question that they want to ask?
A friend of mine, this is on the train. She had a breakdown on the train and went to the hospital, right? The word got around the office, but not from her mouth, from the other employees. Is that violating her rights?
I think we'll both tag team this one. So I'm going to say that HIPAA does protect, there are laws that protect that privacy. You cannot prevent people from gossiping and murmuring in the workplace, but it's what leadership, you can't protect it. If somehow she told somebody and it got out to another employee, you cannot necessarily go around, and I'm just gonna keep it 100, and you tell me if you're wrong. It's very difficult if they just heard the private conversation from her, and then that person told another person. It's still not good, and as the company, the leadership should diffuse it. And the leadership should go to that person and have a conversation and say, this is this person's private information, and I'd like for you to stop spreading that word. It is her privacy or his privacy, and we respect that you not do that again. I don't know how much further. HIPAA does have fine lines, but it is very difficult, in my opinion, Diane.
Okay.
Now I think you might have a different spin on it, but it's
No, it's the
difficult.
same spin. It's just that, whatever that employee, if the employee is talking to other employees, and it's incumbent upon that manager or the supervisor of that employee to talk with that employee regarding talking about her coworker in the office environment. because that can create some other problems. That could create some other people making some complaints. So you want to protect your company, you want to protect your organization.